The Shark Deck.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. In the second half of the podcast, I'm going to tell you about a benefit show. Amy Schumer, Kevin Hart, Ronnie Chang, Jim Gaffigan, Jerry Seinfeld were on the list. But as I mentioned yesterday, if you missed yesterday, I'm going to handle all the Israel stuff after the break every day. I don't want to ignore the topic, but this is not a political show, and I know you come for the comedy. So I'm going to do that stuff in the second half. But you just heard me say Amy Schumer, Kevin Hart, Ronnie Chang, Jim Gaffigan, Jerry Seinfeld, some big hitters there. I've also got some Kevin Hart news for you in a second. But first, quick look at late night. They were joking about the president's trip to Israel. Seth Meyers, I love this one. President Biden arrived in Israel, making him the first president to visit Israel during a time of war, which is pretty dangerous, but he should be okay once he makes it down the stairs. Love it. Jimmy Kimmel said, Biden and Israel go way back. You know how Moses parted the Red Sea? Joe was the guy that dared him to do it. Stephen Colbert, I hope you feel better, buddy. He's got COVID, and they've wiped out the shows for the week. No Late Show this week. By the way, tomorrow's podcast is really good. It came out really well. Is today's any good, Johnny Mac? I think so, based on the topics, but I haven't actually recorded it yet, so I don't know. Let's check back in 15 minutes. You could tell me. Chris Rock and Kevin Hart. They appear together in the new Netflix documentary, Kevin Hart and Chris Rock, Headliners Only. This will be on Netflix December 12th. Official press release tells us this is a story about two separate journeys that somehow align and end up at the same intersection at the top. Audiences will get to follow the two comedians as they prepare for an unforgettable week of 4 sold-out shows in New York. I kind of forgot that happened, so I'm not sure that unforgettable is good, but I forgot. Along the way, Rock and Hart share firsthand accounts of the struggles and triumphs they faced before their respective colossal successes, placing their bond and brotherhood on full display. Let's listen.
This is a story about two separate journeys, but somehow align and end up at the same intersection at the top.
Said, why don't we do something together? What do you think about doing New York?
I'm excited about this week, not just because of the arena factor.
I'm just excited to hang out with you.
That's it.
Kevin Hart and Chris Rock, Headliners Only, Netflix, December 12th. Jada Pinkett Smith can't get Chris Rock out of her mouth. I'm getting very bored with this, Jada. Like, really, really bored with it, but I'll talk about it. It's shiny and it'll get me downloads. In Jada Pinkett Smith's new book, Worthy, she shares her thoughts about Chris Rock's Selective Outrage special. Jada writes, what do you say if someone decides to make a comedy special full of lies and unwarranted insults? You love them as God does, and you say to yourself, when people hurt, that it could be that they believe they will feel better if they lash out. Can I honestly say I've never been there? The answer is no, and that's where compassion and well-wishing come in. She also said that Chris Rock had, quote, hurt my feelings in the past, and, quote, although I wanted to hold on to my resentments, I'd learned that would hurt me more than him. She adds that Chris Rock deserves my concern and my consideration, despite how he may decide to drag me on stages. That's his issue, not mine. From spirit to spirit, he is my brother. Trevor Noah's new podcast is called What Now? With Trevor Noah. It'll be out November 9th. Spotify is producing it, but they're going to make it available everywhere. Thank goodness, because I really like it, Trevor Noah. And, I stopped listening to Rogan. I don't use the Spotify app. Sorry. You want me to use the app? Buy some ads, Spotify. This sentence right now could either be a commercial for Spotify or for a deodorant company. I like money. The official press release tells us Trevor Noah's new weekly podcast will feature Trevor Noah having in-depth conversations with people from a wide array of backgrounds, including entertainers, CEOs. Do we really want to hear CEOs? Name a CEO you want to hear. Who do you want to hear? Elon? Hey, it's Trevor Noah, the guy that runs, Chevrolet. Do you want to hear that? I don't. Actors, athletes, and thought leaders. Trevor Noah, in a statement, said, we'll also probably fix every single issue humankind has ever faced, so you definitely want to join us for every episode. Pitchfork has a really interesting article. It is called John Mulaney on the Music That Made Him. The comedian talks about the songs and albums that have soundtracked his life 5 years at a time. I'm going to pick away at this for the next week, except for this weekend, because perhaps I've already pre-recorded the weekend, you know what I'm saying? And I have shared it in the Facebook group. Please feel encouraged to join us in the Facebook group. Unless you're a porn bot, the porn bots keep posting lately, and the people in the group have been really good about taking those down. So if you're a listener and you're in the group, thank you so much for flagging those. This morning I was out for a run. I got a message that somebody had flagged one. It's just the porn bots are annoying. So if you're not a porn bot, Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast group. And I've shared this article from Pitchfork about John Mulaney on the music that made him. Let's take a look at one of the songs from 5-year-old John Mulaney. He was into the Pointer Sisters' Neutron Dance. What? Exactly. Mulaney said, My preferences really started at 5. Suddenly I was like, I have a style and I'm sticking to it. I really liked wearing ties. At 5? I have my hands in my pockets in photos, like I'm proudly admiring a factory floor. I remember wearing my Superman pajamas underneath a shirt and tie so that I could rip it open. Love it. My parents had a Pointer Sisters tape in our car, Breakout. We played it all the time. Beyond Jump, which was the hit of the car, Neutron Dance had this driving energy to it that I really dug. My dad is a very formal, buttoned-up, law-abiding guy, but when Neutron Dance came on, he would just drive faster and faster and faster. We were on a country road once, and he was pulled over while Neutron Dance was blasting. The guy was like, "Do you know how fast you were going?" My dad was like, "I got a station wagon full of kids." "No." The cop says, "You were going 90 miles an hour." And my mom said, "Shoot." But that was the power of the music. Neutron Dance had some kind of spell on him. But I'm curious about this story a little bit. The Pointer Sisters and the age doesn't make sense to me, so let me do some live detective work here. John Mulaney parents, I've discovered Charles W. Mulaney Jr. is John Mulaney's father, and I've Googled him and added the word age. All right, Mulaney Jr. was born in 1949. Neutron Dance was a hit in 1983, so all right, let's do some lazy math there. 1949 is like 1950, you add 33... Was a 33-year-old dad driving around listening to the Pointer Sisters? I guess. Maybe. I guess. I was just trying to picture my own parents. I'm like 14 years older than Mulaney? How old's Mulaney these days? Mulaney's 41. I'm 54, so I'm 13 years older. I'm struggling to picture my parents, who would have been approximately 13 years older than Mulaney's parents, listening to the Pointer Sisters, but I totally digress. Get back to the show, Johnny Mac. Okay. Ken Jeong is getting his own talk show for some reason, I will editorialize. Some suits at the company said Ken is one of a handful of people in the world who has what it takes to succeed as a talk show host, and we're excited to be in business with him. Audiences connect with Ken on many levels, not only because he is so talented, entertaining, and unapologetically hilarious, but their sense is that he's sincere, compassionate, fearless, friendly, and just genuinely nice. All essential ingredients that make for long-term success as a talk show host. The show will be syndicated, premiere sometime next year. It is unclear to me if this is a daytime talk show or are they going to go into late nights. I don't see this working, but what do I know? Let's take another look at that really good interview with Roy Wood Jr. that Rolling Stone did. Rolling Stone said, "You killed your guest hosting audition and the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and you've put your time in on the show. Do you feel like you've been treated fairly in the casting process? Do you think you deserve the job? And did you do everything you could to get it?" Roy Wood, not pulling punches, said, "I don't feel like that. To quote The Wire, deserve got nothing to do with it. They said Trevor didn't deserve it, and he proved everybody wrong. The network's going to do what's best for them, and I respect that. My job is to be as good as possible so that if somebody else needs a quarterback, they know what I can do. There's also a world where I can create my own expansion team. The thing that I'm grateful for is that I don't ever need to question if I can do that job because it's a lot to sit in that chair. It's given me a great deal of confidence to prep my host week and prep the White House Correspondents' Dinner concurrently. And when I was hosting The Daily Show, I was still out to midnight at comedy clubs prepping the Correspondents' Dinner set. I've never looked at the chair as anything that I deserve. I got 8 years of, as Ronnie Chang calls it, the best job in comedy. As weird as it sounds, I'm thankful because now everybody knows I can do the thing and there are many channels." Rolling Stone pointed out, "You have emerged as the people's champ for Daily Show host." Roy said, "The love online has been very kind, very dope, very genuine. It's weird when people are angrier than you are about something. But it's very touching to have people appreciate what I do enough to voice an opinion about it. Some people will come up and say, 'Man, go do your thing,' and others will come up and they're like almost in mourning, like if I posted about my dog dying or something. I'm fine, I'm thankful. I had a job for 8 years. That's an excellent run." Rolling Stone said, "I wanted to ask you about that New Yorker piece about Hasan Minhaj." Roy said, "I hope the lesson that Hasan learns is that for people, the line where you can embellish is seemingly a little more vague. It may have been clear to him, but for a lot of people, it's like, nope, you did something that made me feel something. When you stretch the truth for the sake of laughter, it's one thing, but when you do it for the sake of feeling, that's when people start taking offense. I understand the integrity issue that people are bringing up with regard to Hasan and his stand-up. Do I think that things happen within a stand-up that make him incapable of being a Daily Show host? I think he'd still be a perfectly fine host and a perfectly fine candidate to host The Daily Show. There's a gang of people who are never going to forgive him for what he's done, and I think that goes against the whole concept of forgiveness. Comedy Central's between a rock and a hard place. If Hasan was the front runner, there's a lot of atonement that would probably have to happen with regard to him. To a degree, this whole thing is like taking a comedian's jokes and flipping them over to read the nutritional facts. It's like when you find out that orange juice you were drinking is only 10% juice and you're infuriated, but you've been drinking it for years, so why is it an issue now? More from that tomorrow. Michael Costa is guest hosting The Daily Show this week, and he made a great point about Congressman McHenry, who is the acting Speaker of the House? And I like what Costa did here. He said, Congressman McHenry is perfect for the job because he's already there. Sometimes you just got to go for the guy who's already sitting in the chair. Why keep looking? He's not messing up. He's maybe even crushing it, some people are saying. Love that. Next week, Jesus Nice, the week after Sarah Silverman and Leslie Jones, I will be curious to see if the Sarah Silverman week actually happens. Why do you say that, Johnny Mac? You'll find out after the break. Yes, I left you on a Sarah Silverman teaser. That is coming up in sequence. Real quick, I saw a headline. The headline read, quote, critically acclaimed comedian Adam Sandler announces performance in Omaha this winter. And my brain froze because I saw critically acclaimed comedian Adam Sandler. Now, Adam Sandler, clearly successful, makes a lot of money, has a lot of hit movies, even though some people with podcasts in their basement think most of his movies are garbage. Clearly, he is successful, sells out arenas, movie star, has more money than anybody. Well, not anybody, but you know what I mean. Rich guy, he's doing well. Is he critically acclaimed? I don't think so. I see very few reviews that say Adam Sandler is brilliant. But he's popular. He's successful. From The Hollywood Reporter, Wednesday night's Very Good Plus night of comedy benefit for Jessica Seinfeld's Good Plus Foundation featured sets from, listen to this lineup, Amy Schumer, Kevin Hart, Ronnie Chang, Jim Gaffigan, and Jerry Seinfeld. That, my friends, is called Calling in the Favors. At the beginning of the show, Jessica Seinfeld said, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the suffering of Israelis and Palestinians in Gaza and Israel. That got applause from a packed audience at New York City's Carnegie Hall. Jessica said, to quote the great Pete Davidson, sometimes comedy is a helpful way through tragedy. Amy Schumer's set joked about the challenges of being a woman, her TV watching habits, and how she had once been attached to the Barbie movie. She spoke about growing up Jewish and joked that some of the inherent problems with the word used to describe her religion, including that the word has "ew" in it, and the uncertain sounding "ish." Halfway through her set, Amy said she was going to work really hard on this last week, and then something happened. The audience shared a nervous laugh. Ronnie Chang followed Amy. He joked about his experience helping his wife freeze her eggs, marveling at how he had been entrusted to administer the injections she needed. Jim Gaffigan up next. He spoke about life as a father of 5 kids who are either teenagers or about to become teenagers. Kevin Hart, quote, who insisted he couldn't say no to Jerry Seinfeld, unquote. That's called calling in the favors. Nothing wrong with that. I would call in some favors. I've called in some favors on this show. Kevin Hart recounted the accident that recently landed him in a wheelchair and how he went on a gorilla trek with his family in Rwanda. Jerry Seinfeld closed the night. He joked about his lack of enjoyment on vacation, his marriage, and his upcoming Pop-Tarts movie. Jord Old tells us Anglo-Iranian comedian Oma Jalili had to cancel a gig last night because of personal threats due to the situation in Israel. The venue released a statement on social media saying the show was dropped because increased personal threats over the Israel-Hamas war. The original post was then replaced with one saying only that the show was axed, quote, due to circumstances beyond our control. That's like not even trying. That's like one of those phrases that you've heard since you were 4 years old and just go, yeah, the circumstances beyond our control. Jalili had been posting about the situation on Twitter, calling for a ceasefire and speaking out about hate crimes directed at both Jewish and Palestinian people. The local police said no threat had been reported over the gig. Jalili is scheduled to tour Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland next week. Sarah Silverman is facing some backlash for her post on Instagram supporting Israel. Sarah wrote, many are saying that it's inhumane that Israel is cutting off water/electricity to Gaza. Israel made it pretty simple. Release the hostages and we'll turn it back on. Instead of pleading with Hamas to release civilian hostages, which include babies and toddlers, there are politicians, cough cough AOC, calling Israel inhumane. That received some comments. One person wrote, Sarah Silverman really said, well, maybe those children shouldn't have voted for Hamas if they wanted water. Awkward segue time. Comedian Tim Robinson brings vegan Coney dogs to Los Angeles. Boy, John, you made that as smooth as heck. Yes, I did. Michigan's own Tim Robinson teaming up with Plant Power Fast Food. What they're going to do is at the Hollywood location, they will sell vegan Coney dogs for $7.95. Profits from the vegan dogs and also they're selling hats and t-shirts will benefit the nonprofit group Youth Climate Save. A press release says the limited menu item sold Saturday through November explains that Coney dogs with chili, yellow mustard, and white onions are so popular around Michigan that they're served at weddings, parties, and even funerals in the Midwest and beyond. And now you can get vegan Coney dogs for $7.95 in Hollywood. From the Transylvania Times, which is a real thing. Sounds like I'm doing a bit. No, this is a real thing. Local officials will dedicate a North Carolina highway historical marker honoring influential comedian Moms Mabley today, 5 o'clock. That's at Clemson Plaza in Brevard. Don't act like you don't know where that is, and don't act like you think I said it wrong. Probably did. It's in North Carolina. Apparently at the Clemson Plaza, there's a Mayberry's Soup and Sandwiches. John, you're not going to click on a menu and read us a menu, are you? No, I won't do that today, but I'm going to do it over the weekend. I'll warn you in advance. A retrospective of Moms Mabley's life will follow at the Mary C. Jenkins Community and Cultural Center. Born in 1894, Jackie Moms Mabley Aiken often took inspiration from her hometown and began entertaining at local church fundraisers. At the encouragement of her grandmother, she left town in her teens and joined Black Vaudeville Theater Owners Booking Association, where she took the stage name she would use to perform for black audiences across the country. Considered by many to be the first female African-American stand-up comedian, Mabley's career spanned 6 decades. Dressed in her trademark cap, mismatched housecoat, oversized shoes, and toothless smile, the Moms Mabley character was a frumpy, grandmotherly figure that appealed to a broad audience with her captivating storytelling while challenging societal norms. In the 60s and 70s, the character became known to a wider audience, recording more than 20 comedy albums, performing at larger quote-unquote white venues, and appearing in film and on TV shows like The Smothers Brothers and The Ed Sullivan Show. In addition to the highway marker, they're working on a larger-than-life statue of the Moms Mabley character that will be created for display outside the Mary C. Jenkins Center. That's awesome. Dina Hashem will have a stand-up special on Amazon Prime Video. It'll be out November 10th. It is called Dark Little Whispers, executive produced by Sam Morrell. She discusses everything from death threats to existential dilemmas to relationship problems, quiet people, and her upbringing as a first-generation Arab American. Let's listen to the trailer.
My dad left when I was very young. If you see a woman holding a microphone, her dad is gone. Men have problems too, right? In fact, clap if you're a straight white man right now, please. Clap if you're... Thank you, yeah. Did it feel nice to be heard right there? You know, we don't hear enough about the bigotry against quiet people. We just need more voices raised about it because we can't do it ourselves.
That is pretty good. November 10th on Amazon. Another one coming to Amazon. Trevor Wallace, Pterodactyl. This one out on November 14th. The press release tells us, you know Wallace from the relatable characters he's unleashed across the internet, which have amassed billions of views. In his first stand-up special, he introduces you to the real-life characters he's come to face with as he navigates male birth control, smoking oregano, his unique birds and the bees talk, experiences his first Buc-ee's, the red flags of dating, and the worst thing you could ever order on a date. Wallace was voted as a finalist in the Best in Comedy 2020 Shorty Awards. Trevor Wallace, Pterodactyl, Amazon, November 14th. I don't have a trailer for you. Tim Minchin is celebrating 50 years of the Sydney Opera House. He has a new song and it's called Play It Safe. Play It Safe is making fun of all the people who said that the Opera House was going to be a disaster. The song includes audio clips of commentators criticizing the iconic building as being a waste of taxpayers' money. Lyrics include, people like the rules as written, so just give them more of the same. And if you want to go the distance, find the path of least resistance and just take it. Vulture is doing their 25 comedians you should know. Nimesh Patel did not give long answers at all. They asked him, what unscripted reality show would you be good at? He just said, Cops, as an innocent criminal. All right. What have you learned about your own joke writing process? He said, I learned to keep my writing secret secret. All right. You don't want to play? We won't play. Natasha Vainblatt has her new album. It's called We're All Dads Here. That's out today on a Special Things Records. It was recorded live at Union Hall in Brooklyn. Her set tells us about the dangers of coffee, the relationship between rats and restaurant ratings, the magic of the New York City subway, self-defense characters, and her experiences with Russian culture and curious traditions. She's been a staff writer on Fallon and is the co-creator and star of Comedy Central's original series, Your Worst Fears Confirmed. And Burt Young, you know him as Paulie from the Rocky movies. He passed away. His actual date of death was October 8th, but his daughter confirmed it to the New York Times. Burt Young was 83. This has nothing to do with comedy, but I did get to meet Burt Young. It's probably a full 20 years ago. He was doing a demo for a radio show. Nice guy, kind of like Paulie in real life. Had that low-energy, mumbly kind of vibe. When I saw he was 83, I was honestly surprised because it was 20 years ago when I met him. And I'm like, he was 63 when I met him. He felt 83 then. I don't mean that as a dig. But if you do the math, if he was 83 in 2023, that means he's like only like 43 in Rocky 3. And it means he's like in his mid-30s in the original Rocky. Born in Queens in 1940, Burt Young joined the Marines before he turned 16. There he began boxing. After leaving the Marines, he enjoyed a brief professional boxing career, even went up against Muhammad Ali in a charity exhibition match. Nice guy, nothing to do with comedy, but why not end a comedy podcast with death, which I seem to do 3 times a week now. That's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Oh my goodness, I just looked at the raw edit. Boy, this was a long one today, huh? Hope you enjoyed it. See you tomorrow.